Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to what is the start of the final week here at Flux Motorsport of our Season 2 here in the year of 2020. It is, of course, Tuesday, which means it's time for the touring cars, and although the championship is done, believe me when I say it, this is not done. We are, of course, here for the final round at Bathurst's Mount Panorama circuit, which has got the grid very excited indeed. As we see the drivers just about to start their outlaps from the 20 minutes of qualifying that we've got in store on what is actually quite an overcast and cloudy day here at Bathurst. Let's have a little quick reminder about how the championship has gone so far. So we do have a championship crowned for the console. Congratulations to the console for managing to take that championship, but we have got a bit of a battle going on for the remaining two places within this championship between Al Axon, which is all U82, and J46 Dyson. Kofkarl is also in the running for it, as well as Jack de Menzies, depending on who can pull out all the stops here around this very challenging, tricky Aussie circuit. And what a classic circuit it is as well, if you're not quite acquainted with how it generally goes down around Mount Panorama. Then you're in for some very, very close racing up and down this formidable mountain circuit. You can already see somebody going the wrong way as we track Bruce Law around in one of the BMWs, in the Pirelli BMW, latecomer to this championship. But I know that he's very, very excited indeed for this one. And he's looking pretty good as well into the practice session. None looking quite as good as our champion though, with the console currently lapping quickest in that session with a 1 minute 15 seconds. And it's going to be around about that, maybe even peaking just a little bit under as to who can get the pole position within this race. Another quick reminder as well is that the console has actually got 7 wins out of 7 races here. He managed to pick it up at the very start of the season at the fictional Bannock Brae circuit, and he's gone on to win every single race then. So is he going to make it the clean sweep through the season? We'll have to wait and see. I know that plenty of drivers will be keen to stop him. But whilst we get used to this Mount Panorama circuit, let's jump on board at the moment with Bruce Law as he takes us around into the first corner, which is Hell Corner. Going to be down into second, maybe even third gear if possible through this one, and then to drag all the way up the mountain straight as they start to climb up to the altitude. It is, as you've probably guessed, a mountain. You can just see the very peak of the course just in the foreground here. And it's going to be down into fourth gear for Quarry Corner, which is the next big right-hander. Try and carry as much speed as they can as they get pretty close through this, and you want to watch out for those walls as well. Now it's heavy braking as late as you dare into Quarry Corner here. It's almost a uphill hairpin, and this one is a messy one from Bruce Law. Probably not the best one to get us out on our drive around. Let's see who else we've got currently out on a lap. In fact, let's have a look over to that bright pink Actrol Vision car. In fact, it looks as though he's just in the same sort of place. So let's jump on board with the console now. Just about to take us up through the cutting. You can see heavy into the brakes as I bring on the speedo as well. Second gear, some might also manage it up through third as they go through this double right-hand section. This is going to be a bit of a lift and a throw. In fact, no lift at all there through the console. He's flat on the accelerator as he takes it all the way through this double left now. And then is he going to see a lift again? It's not. It's flat all the way through it. Just about to come into now what is one of the trickiest parts up at the peak of the mountain through Skyline, and we can see there how easy it is to get wrong. Under braking, loses the front end in that Renault Megane, and he's going to have to start that again. Of course, if it was inside the race, we have got performance impacting damage, and that would be a return to the pits, especially in these front wheel drive cars where they're going to be susceptible to some drivetrain damage clinking onto the front end like that. We join now though with TTV Giacomo, who's just coming through Skyline and the S's now. So he's going to give us a good view of what we can expect through this. Look at that, getting an endo on the front wheels there of that Renault Megane. Tell you what, he wouldn't be able to do that again if he tried. Don't know where the balance of that car is at the moment, but Giacomo almost pulling out the unspeakable as we see the first few laps now just starting to rein in. Looks as though All U82 currently in pole position with... who is that in second? Let me just remind myself. It's Flatpack, indeed it is. Flatpack in second with Luke Snipes in third place. The only 3 drivers so far to set a lap. And it's so easy to make a mistake that it can be very easy to wipe out your lap, and then you've got to start what is quite a long out lap once again. And here's a great view at the moment with Flatpack with Bruce Law currently chasing. That's where we saw Giacomo getting on the front wheels. Unheard of to pull out a nose wheelie, really. I don't know how he's managed it, but this is more like it from Flatpack. Let's have a look and see if we can get an idea of the speed differential between the BMW and the Renault Megane through this. It shouldn't be too disparate. The gearing should be set up just to try and hit the red line once they come down to the very bottom of the Conrod straight that they're currently running on into the braking of the chase. Really tricky corner this. We'll see a lot of people losing it. Usually the front end slipping away from you, and then as soon as it catches, spitting you across the other side of the track in these front wheel drive cars. And you can see there in the background, that's Bruce Law trying to get some heat into the tyres. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not this one is an actual lap or not. He's currently in 13th with no time set, but he's just about to cross the start-finish line. And it does look as though it was an invalid lap from Bruce Law. So easy to do, and with only 13 minutes remaining inside the session, he's going to want to make sure that he gets at least a lap down on paper. Let's have a little look over to the rest of the field at the moment. Console back in 10th. Looks as though he's just about to finish setting a lap. Comes across the start-finish line, and it's another invalid lap here for the Console. This could be heartache because it certainly is one of those tracks where you want to make sure that you're at least near the front. Either near the front or near the back, because the first couple of corners is going to be hell to pay with a full grid around here. All it takes is for one mistake and all of a sudden you've got a big metal wall in front of your driving line, and it's you aren't left with many places to sort of go around here. You can see that the entire course is walled off. There aren't many runoff areas apart from up the top of McPhillamy Park coming into the skyline, and also down the Conrod straight into the chase. There's a bit of a runoff area there, but other than that it's walled all the way around here. Mainly to protect the drivers from ditching it down a mountain, but looks as though the Console's on one now. You can see a little bit of side scrape damage on that car. Don't think it's going to be affecting performance though. My telemetry has finally loaded up, so I can now get the sectors up at the moment. I'm just seeing some sector times coming in from the rest of our drivers. Not currently getting one up for the Console though at the moment. Let's try and restart this. Let's make sure that I can try and get all the information that I can, because it's going to be coming thick and fast here at Mount Panorama. You can see it looks as though the Console's going much tidier through this one. Looks as though he's using caution just to make sure that he can get that lap set. He doesn't want to finish without a time being set. We do only have 7 times registered so far in just about the halfway point of the qualifying session. The Console now comes in though, second place so far. It would have been enough for first, but All U82 has been able to pull out a 2-minute 15.585, and it looks as though the Console now just coming up to a bit of traffic with a rather battered and bruised Green Gaming BMW ahead of him in that Horbsner, and just narrowly avoiding what can only be assumed to be somebody coming out on an outlap. I think that might have been Casey Redwood. The console having a little look up the inside of Quarry Turn and making that move stick, just getting in a little bit of racing practice, it seems, from the moderator here, and really pulling it off. He won't be happy at all that All U82's currently got the quickest lap, and you can see their big lock up as he's late onto the brakes on that front left hand side. Really is going to be an exciting race here, and I'd love to know your predictions for this one. Are we going to see the clean sweep provided by the console? Are we going to see 8 wins out of 8 races? Do let me know inside the comments section. And also, if I can just remind you once again to make sure that you don't miss any of the action, either throughout the final week of the season, or whether or not it's what's going on through the off season, because we will be having some news announcements and some videos put up as you enjoy your festive winter Christmas breaks, depending on where in the world you are. But make sure that you hit that notification button, subscribe to the channel, and you won't miss any of the action. And of course, if you want to keep up to date with the latest news and goings on, if you are or aren't part of this community, then be sure to hit us up on Twitter, Instagram or Facebook. And if you do want to take part in the upcoming 2021 season lineup, we've got something very special indeed coming your way, depending on, well, regardless of where you are in the world, then head on over to our website, it's www.fluxmotorsport.com, and hit the link there to join up on this fantastic community. Just as we see there, the console turning his 4-wheel car into a motorbike temporarily, riding 2 wheels all the way through, and able to carry so much speed through the chase. It's not going to be enough though. Looks as though that final sector just let him down. He's got purple sector 1, purple sector 2, but it's the final sector that's currently letting the console down and currently keeping All U82 in that pole position spot. Let's have a look over to All U82 at the moment. It's All U82 leading to the console. Bruce Law's got himself up into 3rd place with Object in 4th, Kovkarl in 5th, and Flatpack in 6th at the moment. T-Scott has managed a 7th place with Jack Demenzies in 8th. Green Gaming's actually running pretty well in 9th, with Luke Snipes in 10th, Casey Redwood in 11th, and J46 Dyson in 12th. And then Stoltz, TTV Giacomo, Old Smoky yet to set a lap here. So we are currently tracking round the Air Bubbles number 11 of All U82. Still hunting down the first win of the season, and he's come mighty close. Just hasn't been able to get it across the line ahead of the console, but he's been getting closer every single time, and this is the sort of circuit where anything can happen. So he's going to be pretty focused for tonight. He's going to want to make sure that he keeps his nose clean, and who knows, with the sort of pace that he's pulling out at the moment, especially with that fastest lap, we'll have to wait and see what can happen. I'm just trying to keep an eye out on the console's current sector times. Not seeing any improvement yet. I think he's gone back in and headed back out, because I'm not seeing any new sectors flashing up, whereas All U82 has gone green in sector 1, green in sector 2 this time around. He's just about to complete sector 3, so we may just see a little bit of an improvement. All depends as he comes down. Murray corner here into the final start-finish straight, and let's see what it's going to be for All U82. We're going to see any improvement from the 2:15.585. We're not. Actually, it looks as though his sector 3 just let him down by a number of seconds, actually. Flatpack looks as though he's just been able to pull out a fastest sector 3 by a huge margin, it seems. It was so huge, in fact, that I'm guessing that this is a bit of false data from the telemetry panel that I've got currently running. It looks far too big of a margin to be valid. Let's look on over to the console. He has reduced the deficit. It's currently just shy of 4/10 away from the current pole sitter. He's going to be really eager to try and get that back and try and take the brace of points available with the win, the pole position, and potentially the fastest lap in the race. And we can see there the cloud just starting to lift away ever so slightly here at at Bathurst. That's going to really increase the track temperatures. Don't forget, we are running at the current date, so we are in the summertime here in Australia. That is being shown by the track temperature, 135 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. Certainly not a cold one. To give you some perspective, that is 57 degrees Celsius. Pretty sure you could start to cook an egg on that tarmac. It's going to make the tyres super sticky, but it is also going to help them overheat after 45 minutes worth of laps here around what is a pretty grueling circuit. Fortunately, you've got two pretty long straights, but those little lockups to the front left-hand side are really going to start to punish those tyres, and we may well see some pits required if the tyre wear does get too severe. So with just less than 4 minutes remaining, it's still all U82 on pole position, the console in second. Bruce Law remains on the second row in third position with Object in fourth. Kovkarl's come into the pits. He's going to have to try and get out there pretty sharpish if he's going to try and get another lap in. Casey Redwood and T-Scott also returning to the pits. Old Smokey yet to set a lap here, along with Stoltz and TTV Giacomo. That's going to punish them. They need to make sure that they get out and get at least one clean lap in before this one. Otherwise, they're going to have to fend for themselves right at the very back of the grid. It looks as though it won't take the fastest lap to try and just get themselves up into potentially 8th position. That should be achievable less than a 2-minute 20. I think it's a pretty conservative lap to try and get around here. So any lap will do them at the moment, but is this lap going to do for the console? Let's have a look as he comes across the line. Does look as though it's good in Sector 2. However, All U82 is currently sat in the purple Sector 1 time, and it's no real improvement from the console. He manages to knock 500ths away from it, but All U82 is on an absolute flyer here through Sector 1. Just bringing it through the S's, and look at the way that he's threading that needle at the moment. It really is looking poised and pretty prime for the race here. Let's see what gear he manages to step it down to. Second gear through that final corner, out of the S's, down into Conrad Straight. He's going to try and drag it down as much as he can. He might just get the benefit of a tow here from, I think that might be Casey Redwood ahead of him, who has since set a lap. So maybe it wasn't Redwood. But yeah, Casey Redwood has now set a lap, and it was a 2-minute 20, so it is good enough for 9th position at the moment. So just Stoltz, TTV Giacomo and Old Smokey yet to set that lap. Yeah, I think it might be Luke Snipes actually in the Hakeen. That's currently ahead of our pole sitter. He's gone green in Sector 2 here, All U82, so this should be an improvement. Let's have a look whether or not his Sector 3 has been on track for it. It's not. No improvement from the 2:15.585 that he currently holds. In fact, he's actually equalled his best. Beg your pardon. So the console has 0.3 of a second to make up, or just over 0.3 of a second. Are we going to see it this lap around? Drivers are now completing their final lap, or at least All U82 is. The console just coming down the Conrad Straight, it seems. Breaking into the S's, so he's going to have one more shot at getting that pole position and the crucial bonus point. Just to remind you though, this championship has been wrapped up. The console took the victory in race 6. So championship came early for him. The celebrations have done, but this has been one of the highlights of the console's season here, and he finally gets that pole position. Quite a few times of trying, it took 4 laps in the end, but he has taken it with a 2:15.248, and that is job done from the console. Looks as though as well All U82 has had to sideline it just at the top of Skyline there. So that's his session done. Jack Menzies has moved up into third place, pushing Bruce Law down into fourth. But both drivers are still out on track. And look at the way that Jack Menzies is currently chucking that Zavima car round. Obviously chucking it round with potentially a bit of damage. So it's all eyes on Bruce Law now, whether or not he can knock him out. But Object is sat in fifth place. Kovkarl is in the pits in sixth place. So there's a few drivers out on track at the moment that might be able to disturb his starting position. We'll have to wait and see. But Bruce Law in the Pirelli getting very close to that outside tyre. That's what we want to see around here. Driving it to the absolute edge, and for any V8 supercar fans, they'll know just how close these cars generally come to the outside walls. It's the way that you've got to try and stick it here at Mount Panorama. Have a lot of faith in the car, know where the corners are, know which speed you need to be coming into them. And look at that, riding it right onto the very edge there from Bruce Law. Certainly looks like he's on a bit of a flyer here. Just having a look, it's green in Sector 1, green in Sector 2. It's not going to disturb the front row, but it might be enough to knock Jack Menzies back off third place. And we all know how well this BMW can start off the line in these touring car events. So it'll be all eyes on Bruce Law just to see whether or not he can get into Hell Corner first. Coming through the chase, it looks pretty balanced, although potentially not too quick. We'll have to wait and see though. All comes down to the final corner. See whether or not those two green sector times in 1 and 2 have paid off. 2:17.548 to beat from Bruce Law. It looks as though Luke Snipes has gone a little bit quicker, and he gets there. Bruce Law ends up finishing in third position to take the primary position in row 2. Looks as though Giacomo has finished his laps, as has Luke Snipes. Let's have a look though. Stoltz is cruising at the moment through the uphill section. Looks as though T. Scott just coming to the end of a lap. So that is our lineup for tonight's final race of the season here in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. The console leaving it to the very last minute there to come out on top in pole position, pushing back All U82 into second. Bruce Law also gets it on the death to qualify in third ahead of Jack Menzies, with Object now in fifth with Kovkarl alongside. Flatpack does enough for seventh ahead of Giacomo, with Luke Snipes in ninth and Casey Redwood in 10th. Then it's Stoltz in 11th, followed by his teammate T. Scott in 12th, with Dyson following up. There'll be a disappointing qualification for the Scotsman. He'll be looking to try and make some improvements on that through the race, with Old Smoky in 14th, and it looks as though we've lost Green Gaming from the lineup as well. Old Smoky then not setting a lap, which is worrying, because this is certainly going to be a bit of a baptism of fire if he's not been able to get much practice out on there. Seen 2 laps registered though, so there's a bit of a saving grace. So as we get set up for the grid, I'll retire and then we'll give these guys 2 minutes to get themselves set up. In the meantime, let me just frequent you with the cars as we go into chase mode. So the console in the pink Actrol Vision, All U82 in the green and black air bubbles. In fact, let's see if we can go trackside and get a good view of these. Bruce Law in the Pirelli BMW. It's nice and easy to spot. It's black and yellow. Jack Menzies in the Zavima Renault Megane. Object is in the red and yellow Momo, with Kovkarl in the PCCF number 20 Renault Megane. SX Flatpack is in one of the Hakeen Renault Meganes, with TTB Giacomo in the Monster Energy. Luke Snipes is in the other Hakeen, with Casey Redwood also in that livery. Stoltz is in the 4C Motorsports along with his teammate of T. Scott in the other 4C Motorsports, with J46 Dyson making up another Monster Energy livery, and Old Smoky in the Emochi liveried Renault Megane. So that is our lineup. We've got 45 seconds. They're going to want to get themselves set up with a race strategy, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least some contact throughout this race. course, it's a touring car race. What would it be without a little bit of paint exchange? But they're going to want to make sure that they're in the pits for as little time as possible. They are long laps, these, so it's only going to be short on the lap count compared to some of our other circuits. But it looks as though the grid is currently ready. It's going to be a drive down into Hell Corner. Are we going to see the BMWs dominate? Or are we going to see the console run away with it? But we are away, and it looks to be a slow start actually from the console. Looks as though Bruce Law could not get past, but All U82 has been able to make some gains on the approach to the first corner. So they both drag it out, and there is advantage to All U82. We can see there, that's Kovkal in the background, potentially with Giacomo, I do believe, just stepping out onto the dirt a little bit. But All U82 has got the inside line. He's going to struggle to make it work. So it's All U82 ahead of the console, with Bruce Law and Jack Demenzies currently fighting it out for third place. Looks as though Bruce Law has relinquished the position just to try and take it back on the approach through Quarry Corner. And it looks as though we've split off into a pack already just on the run up to the hill. We've got 5 cars all in close proximity, 6 cars I do believe actually, with Object closing out the back of the pack, and then Luke Snipes is leading the rest of the other drivers up there. Looks as though most cars are away pretty cleanly, but Casey Redwood appears to have lost out on a fair bit of time. I think that is just the natural progression of waiting through. And oh, heavy contact from All U82 there against the wall. We'll have to wait and see whether or not he can make it out. I think this is going to be a pit stop actually, looking at the way that he's just taken that approach to Skyline. And it looks as though Bruce Law's going to have to go a little bit wide, as with Jack Demenzies, just to try and make sure that they don't come into contact. Bruce Law running across the wall, just trying to save a bit of grace, and he now allows the other drivers through. I think it's going to be maybe slowdown penalties there from Bruce Law, but you can see big lock-up from the rear, it seems, of Jack Demenzies, and all of this is just playing into the console's hands at the moment. He's now found himself 3.7 seconds. You can just make him out there, out the middle of Conrad Straight, so it's the console leading to All U82 with Jack Demenzies in third, Bruce Law in fourth, flat back in fifth, and Object just leading up the rear here. But not too far away is Luke Snipes and TTV Giacomo, it seems. Stoltz also not too far away from those, and J46 Dyson has been able to make up a couple of places here. Are we going to see a pit stop from All U82? Let's have a look. We'll see whether or not he decides to dart left. It looks as though he's sticking it out, but he has got a lot of cars chasing him here in the rear. Let's go into the cockpit here of Luke Snipes as we drive through the start-finish straight. That is Object, SS Flat Pack, Bruce Law's Pirelli BMW, and of course Jack Demenzies that we can see just ahead as we come through Hell Corner. Looks to be a unique way of taking that from Luke Snipes. It's worked for him though. He's managed to just clip the apex and drive all the way through it. Now on a bit of a sprint up the hill on the mountain straight. It looks as though Kovkal's had to pit after that contact that we saw just coming out of the first corner on the off the start here. So the console leads with 4 seconds worth of gap, but there's all sorts of action going on up front between Bruce Law, Flat Pack, Jack Demenzies, and All U82. All U82 getting a little bit loose there again, also making a little bit more contact to that right hand side, and that is going to start to punish him if this continues. Kovkal has been in the pits for quite some time as well, so obviously picking up some considerable damage there. But look how close it is between these two drivers at the moment. Jack Demenzies giving All U82 a really hard time, and also Flat Pack is chasing down Bruce Law at the moment in that Hobbs Renault Megane, trying to chase down the Pirelli BMW. The Pirelli gets a little bit loose once again. We also see Object's Momo car there just getting a little bit loose in the background, making a bit of a collision with the wall, and it started to pinball now. He's going to lose out on a couple of places, but more importantly, he's going to lose out on a bit of suspension there through damage, I can imagine, with Luke Snipes and TTV Giacomo chasing right up into the rear. It's non-stop action as expected here in the touring cars of Mount Panorama. Let's have a look at the console. Look at all of that clean space. It's sickening to see, but he is currently in almost 5 seconds of clean air here, with a lot of drivers doing a lot of battling behind him. Let's jump back to the action as Jack Demenzies tries to make it up the inside of the chase here, thinks better of it, and falls back in line behind All U82, and that's now putting him into the sights of Bruce Law perhaps, but no, I think it's going to be a pit stop here from All U82. We're going to see him ducking in. Nope, decides not to. It must have been a slowdown penalty. Beg your pardon for that. So Jack Menzies now takes second place ahead of Bruce Law, and there's a big contact there in the background. I think that might have been Flatpack making contact with... oh, sorry, no, it was J46 Dyson perhaps making contact with Flatpack. Not too sure. No, it was Flatpack making contact with Object. Beg your pardon for that. Got there in the end, but Flatpack now falls down into 13th place. Looks as though Object has managed to keep his car pretty well stuck on in 5th. Have a look on what's going on here with Old Smokey and Stoltz. We saw that Old Smokey didn't have much time on track throughout the qualification session. And the South African driver of Stoltz now just having a little bit of a move up the inside as we come up into Quarry Corner. Is he going to make this one stick? Old Smokey's going to have to beware and make sure that he doesn't turn in, but he has got the inside line as we come up to the cut-in. The next left-hander exchanging places at the moment. It's going to be brave on the brakes from Stoltz if he's going to make it stick, and it has been. So Stoltz moves up to 9th, pushes Old Smokey down into 10th position. Back up to the front of the pack then, so it's Jack Menzies currently in 2nd, Bruce Law in 3rd, but All U82 and Object are right behind. Let's jump into the cockpit view of Object and get a good view of this as we come through the S's. And it looks as though Jack Menzies gets sent airborne there. Horror show from Jack Menzies. Looks as though just at the very top of Skyline he's lost it, ended up colliding with the barrier, and then I think it might have been was it All U82 maybe that made contact, sending him absolutely skyward. So now it's the console leading to Bruce Law, with Object now in 3rd place in that yellow and red Momo, and All U82 not too far behind. Looks as though Jack Menzies has slipped down to 7th. Let's see whether or not his car's moving. It is indeed, it's moving, but there aren't many panels left on it. Currently behind J46 Dyson's Monster Energy, which is running behind Luke Snipes. Luke Snipes doing very well to maintain 5th position here, and he'll be happy if he can build upon that. So Jack Menzies, I imagine this is going to be a pit stop from our social media staff member. No, he's sticking it out. Look at that, brave stuff, as he's missing half of the front end of his Renault Megane, but it does look as though he's still got a bit of pace from the cars ahead of him. Meanwhile, let's have a look what's going on between Old Smokey still keeping in touch with Casey Redwood. Also a battle going on between T-Scott and Flatpack here. Flatpack is going to want to try and take that position back. We know he's got the pace. He's been up there as a front runner, and a bit of contact there, and seems to just drive off. It looked as though he almost pitted him. So T-Scott, I beg your pardon, it was T-Scott as Flatpack comes into the pit. So yeah, T-Scott seems to just nudge Casey Redwood out of the way. Casey Redwood now slipping down into 11th place as TTV Giacomo and Flatpack now come into the pits. Have a look at what's going on in 6th place. So that is Luke Snipes going past the screen at the moment, and then J46 Dyson going past the screen at the front, but then Jack Menzies and Luke Snipes battling it out, and Jack Menzies gets absolutely T-boned into the wall. Bit of a too wide issue, and now we've got all sorts of carnage going on at the top. Luke Snipes finds a good place to reset his car, but he's going to have to watch out from the traffic as it moves through. So that is now T-Scott moving his way through, and he's going to soon come under a bit of pressure from Casey Redwood. It looks as though that Hakeem Motorsport Renault Megane is just a little bit too battered. I can imagine that is going to be a trip to the pits after this lap for Luke Snipes. Have a little look over to our leader though, currently running in clean air, currently setting the fastest Sector 2 time as well. The fastest lap currently being held by Bruce Law though, with a 2 minute 18.572. Sure that the console will want to try and challenge that come the end of this race to try and take a clean sweep of fastest laps. I think he's only been beaten to it once, I think, throughout the season, which may well have been the Algarve circuit in round 2, hit to the post by Jack Menzies, and Jack hasn't let it lie ever since. Let's go back to some of the action. As we can see now, the console catching up with a back marker. I do believe that's TTV Giacomo that's just come out of the pits. And Jack de Menzies now decides that enough is enough. He comes into the pits for the first time to get that car. Well, it looks as though it needs an overhaul. Never mind, a pit stop. The pit crew come out pretty late, but it's going to be a lengthy one for Jack de Menzies. We can see the front end of the car going straight on there. And it'll be interesting to see whereabouts he comes out on track. Has got a bit of time left yet to go, but it is going to be a lengthy stop this time around, and that is Luke Snipes now returning into the pits as well in that Hakeem Motorsports, looking to try and get some repairs after, well, 3 rapid crashes in succession. Back over to some of the action. Let's have a look over to Bruce Law. Let's see where he is on track at the moment. Looks as though he's just coming out of I think it's out of McPhillamy Park into Skyline now. It is indeed. So he's in a fair bit of clear air at the moment in the Pirelli BMW, and he really has come onto the touring cars, which is generally, for those of you that are well frequented with Bruce Law, it's not really his regular class of car in the touring cars. I think he fancied just a bit of a new challenge, and my oh my, hasn't he risen to it. Just bringing up the results now, and since joining he's managed a 6th place. Oh sorry, beg your pardon, it was a 2nd place I do believe last time around. Just waiting for that stat to load up. It was 3rd, beg your pardon, 3rd at Dubai International, and a disappointing 5th at Rapuna Park after a bit of contact set him back. But it really has come on and got that BMW firing, which so many people have struggled to do. Looks as though All U82 is running alright in 4th place. This is going to be crucial to that final position into the automatic qualification for next season. Remember, the top 3 drivers, and perhaps a little bit of commentator's curse there, proving us wrong as he messes it up on the exit of the chase. But yeah, the top 3 drivers of the championship will get automatic qualification into next season's championship, should it be running. And All U82 is currently challenged by J46 Dyson, who is in 4th place, but the points deficit should be enough if the race finishes as it currently stands. Also, Kovkarl is in the running, but Kovkarl currently in 10th position. So Old Smokey now looks as though he's under, or being under pressure from T-Scott. He's now applying that pressure back on. Let's see whether or not he can drag it up through the mountain reach. Did see T-Scott overtaking him previously, and both cars looking a little bit worse for wear as we see Stoltz now into the pits for the first time. That's going to be some damage repairs, and that's going to be music to Kovkarl, Flatpack, Jack de Menzies and TTV Giacomo's ears, I'm sure. Also Luke Snipes potentially going to be able to make up some time deficit. We'll have to wait and see. Got 32 minutes remaining. We are currently on lap 6 of this Mount Panorama circuit. I'm pretty sure that these aren't going to be the final pit stops of the day. We've even seen how easy it is for some of the quicker drivers to make a mistake. We saw it from All U82 just on that last lap. So anything can happen. We might even see pit stops from the front runners here. We'll continue to watch this battle as we see Old Smokey there clipping that wall. Keep on getting little bits of damage like that, and your suspension is going to be ruined, which you need it for to be able to take it through this downhill part of the mountain, through the S's. Really tricky one this. It is a little bit easier in the front wheel drives compared to some of the rear wheel drive monsters that get driven around here. And if you want to check out some of the action of those rear wheel drive monsters, the GT1 race will actually be featured around this Mount Panorama circuit on Thursday. We will be bringing that footage to you live and commentated by Lecky as soon as we are able to upload it onto YouTube. The commentary is live, unfortunately unable to broadcast that one. But then of course, if you want to look forward to the rest of the week here at Flux Motorsport, we will be concluding the rest of our championships, which, as mentioned, the next race will be the GT1s, but then we'll be taking it over to the LMP2s, which is taking it around the Circuit de Catalunya for the final race of the season. And of course the GT3s around Watkins Glen, where you'll be able to join both myself and the console live from 8 o'clock UK time for that one. So 30 minutes remaining here. The console continues to lead with a 4.6 seconds gap to Bruce Law. Object is in third place, but it looks as though he's potentially coming under a bit of pressure from J46 Dyson. Dyson not too far behind now in that Monster Energy. As they make their way up the course. Let me just have a look at the split times here. So J46 Dyson almost 0.7 of a second quicker in sector 1, and that's just reigning in this deficit here. Very close to the edge there, Object. He's really running it on the edge. He picks up a bit of dirt. Is he going to spit himself across the track? Luckily, it looks as though J46 Dyson has made it all the way through quite comfortably by the time the Object safely returns back onto track. But we do see a bit of a puff of dust there as he clips the inside wall. That might just slow down J46 Dyson a little bit. We come out the dipper, and J46 Dyson has been able to make up a fair chunk of lead from just that little stint. Looks to be around about 1.1 seconds at the moment. And it's pretty level, so both cars looking as though they're geared relatively similarly between Object and J46 Dyson. We'll jump on board with Object, see if he can make anything up into Murray's Corner. I do believe that is a back marker that we can see ahead. Potentially it could be TTB Giacomo, maybe one of the other Hakeem Motorsports that are out on track. But we can see these two drivers pretty well poised to be battling it out for the remaining 28 minutes. There isn't much between them, and that shows in their split times. Does look as though J46 Dyson is just able to snip it in terms of lap time. 218.125 versus Object's 220.6 this last time around, which isn't too bad considering these track temperatures and the amount of fuel that they've currently got laden. These lap times will start to come down though as the race progresses, I'm sure of that. So good to see some familiar faces currently on the stream. Greetings to Jelma, one of our GT3 drivers hailing from Holland. Nice to see you this evening. And also Finley Wall out there supporting Jack and part of the Giacomo crew. Also Billy Innes and Big Al supporting the console, who's currently 4.2 seconds in the lead here. Old Smokey has since come into the pits, and there we see another big puff of dirty black smoke as Object clips that wall once again. And each one of these little taps is going to be doing more and more damage to the suspension, and if you do catch the front wheel drives, remember these are front wheel drives, these Renault Meganes, you're going to start to get drivetrain issues, and that's going to really slow you down, especially coming down the Conrad Straight, which they're just coming down out of the Big Dipper now. So Jack Demenzi, since Old Smokey's pit stop, has managed to get himself up into 10th place. Flatpack now in 9th as well. It's been a bit of a costly endeavour, that one, but he is still running. Another driver, and just trying to have a look through the list and see who is currently missing from there. And it's not completely obvious. Actually, I think it might be Stoltz. Stoltz has since retired from the race. So not sure what's happened there. I think he was running quite well as well, the South African. But T-Scott currently in 6th place. We also saw with that controversial bit of contact with Casey Redwood earlier on in the race. He is currently running ahead of Casey Redwood by some 8 seconds it seems. But it could well be a 10-second penalty being applied and a couple of driving licence points as well for the contact and the failure to stop. I'm sure the stewards will make the decision on that, and we'll see whether or not it affects the running of the race. Meanwhile, up near the top, looks as though we've just had a close-up indicator from J46 Dyson, with Object getting within that 1.5 second window Also worth noting that Bruce Law's been able to close the gap on the console at the moment. He's got it down to 3.6 seconds now, so it's starting to close the gap ever so slightly. Let's have a look at the timing board, see if we've got any penalties. Old Smoky with a huge penalty. That screams speeding in the pit lane all day long, and it is a very tricky pit lane to try and get into. But 31 seconds for Old Smoky. Looks as though the rest of the grid is currently clean though, so that's going to be interesting as the race progresses. 25 minutes now remaining of this Mount Panorama final stop of the 2020 Season 2 Touring Car Championship here at Flux Motorsport. I'd like to welcome you along if you're joining to us late. It's been action-packed through the first half of this race, and it looks as though we're going to be pretty well clued up for an action-packed second half as well. We're currently tracking round J46 Dyson, who's running in third place. They are backmarkers ahead, but the car behind is Object, who's currently running in fourth position. So on the way down to the bottom of the Conrad Straight, I do believe that is Luke Snipes and TTB Giacomo that is currently in 13th and 12th position. So the very back of back markers as J46 Dyson breaks down into the chase. Nice and clean from the Scotsman. He's not had too much luck really. It's been a bit of an odd season for J46 Dyson. If we look at it on the whole, just bring up his statistics now. So we've seen a bit of a mixed bag of results. If we go all the way down to Bannock Bray, he had a bit of a nightmare there really, to be honest. Finishing in 7th place, he was looking much better poised, but I think a midpoint accident set him back quite a number of places, and from then on he was on for a recovery drive. 8th place in the Algarve GP, where the track just didn't seem to suit him, but then we've got a 3rd at Daytona, 4th at Long Beach, and a 3rd coming into round 5, 4th at Dubai International, and then a 8th place at Rapuna Park, where quite frankly had a bit of a mare, but it looks as though he's back on into the running for the podium here around Mount Panorama. We just see him getting a big lock up on that left hand side front, where we saw the console locking it up so often in qualification. It doesn't look to be hurting him too much. That split time continues to grow slow and steady ahead of Object, and it's looking pretty comfortable for him for now. So 22 minutes and 46 seconds remaining here. The console in the lead for his 8th potential victory out of 8 races here in Season 2. Bruce Law in 2nd, J46 Dyson in 3rd, battling with Object that we can just see in the background now in that red and yellow Momo car for 3rd place. Look over to All You 82, who's got himself wrapped up in a couple of little scuffs here, but he's currently running alright. Lap times do look a little bit off the pace, which is uncharacteristic from Al, but perhaps now in a little bit of clear air. He's got 7 seconds ahead of the 6th place T. Scott, and even more of a gap as well ahead of Casey Redwood. So clean running at the moment, but it is going to put his potential automatic qualification in jeopardy from J46 Dyson. Just to remind you of the points here at Flux Motorsport, and this is applicable in all our championships. You get 35 points for a win, 30 points for 2nd place, 27 points for 3rd, and 25 points for 4th. It then goes down in multiples of 2 and 3, so 5th place 23, 6th place with 20, 7th place in 17 points, 8th place gets 15, 9th place 13, 10th place 10, and so on. So with that being said, if we look over to the standings at the moment, the difference between Al Axon and J46 Dyson is 8 points at the moment coming into this final race. And currently with J46 in 3rd place and All You 82 in 5th place, it looks as though it's going to be 4 points difference between the two. So if either of these drivers either gain or lose positions, it's going to be costly in terms of that 2nd position into the championship. Looks as though the console's getting even more support. He's certainly brought his posse along with him tonight. I also hear that there's a sneaky little wager going on as to whether or not he can make it 8 out of 8, but I'm sure that Big Al has broken out the hobnobs in celebration should he manage to reach this milestone. Maybe even a cheeky bourbon thrown in there for good measure. 20 minutes remaining though. The console now with 4.2 seconds and growing gap ahead of Bruce Law. J46 Dyson in third with Object in fourth. All you 82 who are currently tracking around, just about to come through Skyline in fifth position. Then it's T. Scott, Casey Redwood, Cov Carl, followed by Flatpack. Jack Menzies in 10th, who we saw get airborne as he got launched into the sky earlier on in the race. Then it's Old Smokey in 11th, TTV Giacomo in 12th, and Luke Snipes in 13th. But let's have a look over to our leader at the moment, just coming around Murray Corner for the 11th time and about to start lap 12 as we go into the final 20 minutes. And there you can see Bruce Law behind. Doesn't look to be a huge gap, but it is currently sat around about 4 seconds. Basically, it's a major spin out. Perhaps even a collision into the wall. You might lose about 4 seconds, but Bruce Law will just be trying to run his own race here. If I can try and bring up as well the best lap time data, it currently goes to J46 Dyson actually with a 2:17.427. So the console will want to push for that fastest lap just to try and get the clean sweep here today. The magic trio brace of fastest lap, pole position and the race victory, should he be able to hold out into this position for the final 18.5 minutes or so. Just looking through, it looks as though Jack Menzies has just set a green sector in Sector 1. Flatpack setting a green sector in Sector 2 as well. Neither of these drivers have been slow throughout the day, despite their current track positions. Casey Redwood's also just set a fastest personal lap for the session with a 2:20, so making some improvements there, and he might just be able to rein in T. Scott come the end of this session. Have to wait and see. Continue though to track around that pink number 8 Actrol Vision of the console. Just trying to get this job done here in the land down under. Now got 5 seconds lead ahead of Bruce Law's BMW, who's just made it out of at the dipper and lost a bit of time coming through that S's section. So I wonder whether or not we've potentially just missed a bit of a collision with one of the walls and through the mountain circuit. Doesn't look to be too much damage though as we track back on over to this fantastic view through the chase here with the console running it nice and calmly. And if we bring up his speedo, just give you an indication of the gears that he's taking it down here. We can imagine down into third, maybe even second through Murray's, but making sure he keeps it within those white lines and within the track limits, because that is one of the places where it'll punish you. And it's pretty hard to get a slowdown because you've got 2 rather large straights on the approach. Lap 13 now of Mount Panorama, the final race in Season 2's Touring Car Championship here at Flux Motorsport. We are, of course, closing out this season this week. So if you have missed any of the action and maybe you need to catch up, remember you can do so just by hitting on our YouTube channel. You'll find there all of the different playlists from all of the championships, both in this season and the previous season, and you can catch up with any of the races or highlight videos should they be available. I know that TTV Giacomo is currently working his little socks off trying to get those highlight videos created and ready for the rest of the community. Also like to welcome any of the new American subscribers that are currently watching us that are going to be fundamental in Season 1, should I say, of Flux Motorsport's 2021 season. Plenty more news of a big announcement soon to come. So be sure to make sure you're following us on all of our social media channels, or at least one of them, to make sure you don't miss out on any of those big announcements as we close up through the festive season. So looks as though we've lost Giacomo as well. Giacomo has since retired. I think we actually lost him a couple of laps ago, but I've only just noticed which driver it was. He retired there on lap 11, and we're now on lap 13 with the front runners, obviously just costing a little bit too much time and deciding that enough was enough. Jack Menzies has just actually set the purple sector 2, so Jack Menzies is now flying, and he's also set his best lap of the day as well with a 2:17.9. It's not the fastest lap of the day, that's still being held by J46 Dyson at the moment, but Jack Menzies has found big bursts of pace here, and he's currently only 2 seconds behind Flatpack. Let's have a look, see if we can get a bit of a sight of them. Look at the state of that car from Flatpack. That's all sorts of wrong shape, but we can't really make out Jack Menzies there in the background, so it's actually more like a 6-second gap. Is being closed up by just shy of 2 seconds per lap though, the last couple of laps, so it's going to get even shorter, and you can see why. I imagine that Flatpack's been on his roof or something to cause that much damage. Meanwhile, the console's been able to since get the fastest lap the last time around, 2:17.175. That is the fastest lap of today's race. 14 minutes and 25 seconds remaining to go here, but that is going to be the secured bonus point to the console should there be no changes. That being said, the track is certainly quickening up. I'm seeing green sectors coming from Old Smoky and Jack Menzies this time around. No purples as of yet, but we'll have to wait and see what comes next lap around. It's not going to be one from the console though, that's for sure, after his sector 1 time comes in at a 47.3. Still quicker than most other drivers out there though. Just a reminder from what's going on for the rest of the week here at Flux Motorsport. We are going to be taking the GT1s around this Mount Panorama circuit on Thursday. Lecky will be hosting that one, and he will be recording his commentary, and we'll be getting it uploaded to YouTube as soon as possible. Recently though, race 4 and race 6 has been uploaded for the GT1s. Currently missing race 5, not too sure what's going on from that, but we will get it up for you as soon as possible, along with race 7 and race 8. Then on Saturday it's time for the LMP2s to close out their season around the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona in Spain. It is of course set to the real world data, so it's going to be a cold one in Barcelona. I expect that to be very tricky for those LMP2 cars to try and make the tyres work for them. And then in the GT3s we close out around Watkins Glen. The New York circuit is also going to be pretty cold, so that's going to be a tricky one for the GT3 drivers to close out for in the championship. That championship I believe is still under contention, whereas I do believe the GT1 has crowned its champion in the form of Linga Bazinga. And just bringing up the GT3 standings now, I do believe that it is still to play for. It is indeed between Blankfile and Bruce Law. And Dr. Potford is since out of the running order, but the two curb clipper drivers duking it out all the way to the end. However, it will take a rather uncommon finish from Blankfile in order to hand Bruce Law that championship. Bruce Law in second place with 179 points in the GT3s, whereas Blankfile on 198, but Dr. Potford looks as though he secured his third place finish, so he will get automatic qualification into next season's GT3 championship. And a very good season indeed for the good doctor and his Ferrari. But let's focus onto the touring cars. We are currently tracking around the touring car champion in the form of the console. It's now got 5 seconds to Bruce Law. Bruce Law actually pulled out a blinder last lap and made up over a second. J46 Dyson finds himself 5.5 seconds behind Bruce Law at the moment. He has got a substantial gap to Object. He's done really well to be able to build upon that one. Most of the field in that mid-pack range, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, look as though they're slowing down, whereas Kovkal in 8th, Flatpack and Jack Menzies in 8th, 9th and 10th look as though they're speeding up. You can see the console now just making his way past the back marker of Old Smoky in 11th place. Old Smoky making that plenty easy, and a little flash of acknowledgement there from the console. Down the Conrad Straight for the 15th lap here. 10 minutes and 50 seconds remaining, which is going to equate to around about 4 more laps here. So it's probably going to take us up to lap 20 around Bathurst in the touring cars. Let's cut over to flat pack. Let's see whether or not Jack de Menzies has yet made his way into sight. It's about 6 seconds difference. Doesn't look as though he is, as he just takes it up to the cutting. And he isn't, so Flatpack's still running cleanly in 9th position. Is making up gains to the 8th place of Kovkar, but not much really. Last lap around, and Kovkar has since seen a big burst of pace, so he's going to really struggle to be able to build upon that. He's currently, 24 seconds behind Casey Redwood, who's running much slower, but there just isn't going to be enough laps in it. Obviously, the damage sustained and the amount of time lost through that damage is going to really hurt Flatpack and Jack de Menzies in this race. Both drivers running much quicker than their positions currently show, as with Kovkar as well. Actually, he had a big collision at the very start of this race and ended up pitting quite early. He's since been trying to make up all of the deficit. Back over to the pink Actrol Vision car of TheConsole, though, still running with a, I was about to say, completely clean set of body panels, but he just makes a bit of contact there with the outside wall. Doesn't look as though it's slowed him down too much, and still running the absolute legs off that Renault Megane at the moment. Down the hill, calm as you like in 3rd gear, into 4th as he starts to make his descent, back down into 3rd before the Big Dipper, and away through. Look at that, clipping the apex, absolute dream, and then all the way down onto the run for the Conrad Straight for lap 16. 8 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, and it looks as though it's been quite an easy victory here for TheConsole, should he manage to get this one across. It looks as though he is, though. He's got 6 seconds lead to Bruce Law. Bruce Law doing very well in the Pirelli BMW, but Kovkar's laps have started to really come down. It's just a shame about his current track position, just not able to build upon anything after an early incident. Let's have a little flick over to, I mean, look at the state of that car. It looks as though it's been shot at from the rear. But, and it looks like a dog's chew toy as well from the front view. But Kovkar is able to get it round pretty quick. 2:17.787. It's not the quickest lap that we've seen so far today, but it's not too far off at all. As we bring up the timing boards, that's where we currently stand. TheConsole with the quickest lap of the day, 2:17.175. You can see there Bruce Law not too far away in the BMW as well. I think that was a few laps ago. In fact, J46 Dyson does hold the fastest lap of the day with a 2:16.488. So he's been able to pull that one out the last lap around, and that'll give him a huge incentive. In fact, J46 Dyson has been able to pull up quite a bit of a gap. He's managed to make up an extra couple of seconds, and he's now only 3 seconds behind Bruce Law. We flick over to the trackside view of Bruce Law. We might just get a bit of a glimpse of J46 Dyson. There he is, just coming around the cutting, just as the camera started to pan around for Bruce Law. So J46 Dyson is getting a bit of a sniff for 2nd place here, and he's going to be pushing pretty hard in the final 7 minutes of this race to try and collect it from Bruce Law. Meanwhile, SF Flatpat has just managed to get a purple Sector 1 time with a 46.975. His Sector 2 looks as though it's let him down, but still looking purple in Sector 1. Still finds himself, what will it be, 16 seconds or 15.5 seconds behind Kovkar, so I don't think it's going to do Flatpack much good, but still driving the absolute socks off this Renault Megane at the moment. Bruce Law's going to have to try and find even more pace than he's found all the way through this one. We can see that gap getting even smaller now to J46 Dyson. As we jump into the cockpit, let's see whether or not we can see the deficit get even further cut down through the chase. Down to 3rd gear in the Renault Megane. You can take it in fourth if you're able to carry the speed, but it looks as though Dyson's able to carry plenty. And he's actually gone purple in Sector 2. He's got the green lap in Sector 1. I think this is going to potentially be a fastest lap here from J46 Dyson. And we can see that deficit has gotten even shorter. Looks to be a slowdown coming out of Murray Corner. So perhaps the fastest lap last time has slipped away from him. But you can see there still just ever so slightly quicker than Bruce Law. The gap between them now sits at round about 4 seconds. 5 minutes to go here. That's going to equate to a couple of laps. So he's going to have to try and continue to crank up the pressure without any mistakes here, Dyson. The Scotsman's certainly looking pretty proficient in that Monster Energy car, so long as it's on the right circuit and he keeps his nose out of action. I think Rapuna Park maybe just not well versed in what is a very tricky circuit over in New Zealand, and pretty much the same that we saw in well, Bannock Bray was just all sorts of mishaps, but as mentioned earlier, the Algarve GP just perhaps not suiting him too much inside the touring cars. Either way though, he's come back with a bang, and if it wasn't for all you 82s clinging on to 5th place, he may well have found himself in 2nd in the championship. Does look as though he's going to be able to secure a seat for next season with his 3rd place finish though, should it finish the way that it does currently stand. Final 4 minutes here now about Bathurst Mount Panorama circuit. And what a classic circuit it is. I mean, any race fan or any sim racing fan just loves to hoon a car around here, and it really is a real testament to Aussie's love of motorsport to keep what is such a competitive, fast and almost deadly circuit, really, to keep that going for so long. But we're so glad that they do. There isn't much that beats the roar of a V8 around here. Quite enjoying the sound of a straight 4 though in these touring cars, and it's certainly been an exciting race, especially at the start really. The first half of this one was balls to the wall. It's since slowed down a little bit as the drivers have found themselves in bits of clean air. But J46 Dyson now is still turning the screw on Bruce Law. He's managed to make up almost half a second that last lap. Does look as though it's going to be too little too late from the Scotsman though. He's not going to be able to catch Bruce Law at this current projected pace. Meanwhile, hats off to touring car champion in the console. It's been a stellar season really. You can't beat 8 out of 8 victories, apart from to get 8 clean sweeps, which he only missed out on once, on one occasion I believe. Just bringing up those statistics now just to check. So it's been 7 podiums before tonight's racing, all of them first place. It's been 6 pole positions, and beg your pardon, I was a little bit wrong on the fastest laps. It's only been 2 fastest laps so far this season. Jack Menzies actually tops out that statistic with 3, but I'll have to wait and see. Looks as though we're about to get a new addition in tonight's running order. However, no, perhaps not. The console, oh no, sorry, yep, J46 Dyson will be adding his name to that list of fastest laps. He hasn't got one so far this season, but he's currently on for it. Lap 19 has now begun. In fact, lap 19 is just coming down to a close, it seems. We see the console coming around the chase. This looks as though it's going to begin our final lap here around Mount Panorama, as the console comes around Murray's corner for the second to last time, ready to secure his 8th victory out of 8 races here in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. You can see Bruce Law behind, but it's 4.8 seconds behind. You can also just make out J46 Dyson as well, just coming around that final corner. But what a race indeed, what a season indeed for the console. Deserved champion here and securing his spot for next season in the Touring Car Championships. J46 Dyson is also going to have his place secure, all U82, provided that he manages to finish in 5th place. Will finish in 2nd in the championships. That will be your 3 automatic qualification drivers. Of course, pending any ongoing stewards' inquiries, but I do believe that all 3 drivers have kept the nose clean throughout this one. Nothing to worry about as we see the console there getting a little bit sketchy on that final lap. Looks as though he's pushing it hard, and his sector times aren't respective as the fastest lap in Sector 1, but this Sector 2 looks as though he's absolutely hooning it at the moment. Just coming into Skyline now, about to begin the S's, and just waiting for that sector time to come up. Certainly looks to be a quick one. He's pushing hard, getting very close to those walls. Let's have a look at what it materialises into. You can see as well the heat from the tyres as they heat up. Just coming down the Conrad straight now, so that Sector 2 time was the purple sector. You can tell from the way that he was just managing to hold on to it. So the console pushing hard now for fastest lap. We know that he's got a 2:15 in him in qualification pace. He's got 20 litres of fuel on at the moment. He is going to have worn out tyres, but he is pushing this pretty hard. See into the late braking now of the chase for the final time. And the drag down into Murray's corner. Let's see what he can make this one into. Are we going to see a fastest lap from the Touring Car Champion here in Season 2? Look at the amount of gap that he's been able to pull out from Bruce Law just from this one lap. Lights are flashing. He cuts it into the inside and crosses the line. And it is the fastest lap of the race with a 2-minute 15.910, making sure that he secures that fastest lap. Bruce Law crosses the line just ahead of J46 Dyson in the end. Be interesting to see if there's any penalties to be applied. There was. It was a 1 second to J46 Dyson, so that place wasn't going to be his in the end. Object comes across the line now for 4th place. Good finish from Object in Mirror there to secure that 4th position. And it's going to be next up with all U82 who's since crossed the line, I do believe. In fact, perhaps not. No, it looks as though he's just come out the back end of the Conrad straight here. So he will be crossing the line pretty shortly. Saved the race really, as you can see, his front bumper hanging off. It will be a 5th place finish from all U82, and I think it is also going to be 2nd in the championship. And what a challenge he's given the console throughout this season. Great round indeed. Great championship round, shall I say, in season for all U82. T. Scott is just pootling across the line now. The South African in the 4C Motorsport finishing up in 6th place ahead of Casey Redwood, who's just coming under pressure from Kovkarl. Kovkarl looks as though he snuck up the inside and been able to take that 7th place away from him. So it looks as though Casey Redwood pushed down into 8th place on the very last corner ahead with Kovkarl in 7th. Flatpack now as well, just coming around Murray's corner for the final time in 9th position. Closing out the race, 48 seconds remaining. Where's Jack de Menzies at the moment? Just coming around Murray corner as well for the final time. It's going to be 10th place from our social media manager here. And that is all of the running that we've got here for today at Mount Panorama. The console takes his 8th victory out of 8 races. The clean sweep throughout the championship in terms of race victories. Bruce Law in 2nd place and J46 Dyson in 3rd, but very close in the end between those 2 drivers. Object in Mirror finishes in 4th place with all U82 in 5th. T. Scott in 6th place, but a controversial one might see him losing out on a little bit of time. We'll have to wait and see. Kovkarl in 7th with Casey Redwood in 8th. SX Flatpack in 9th place in the end, finishing ahead of Jack de Menzies in 10th. Luke Snipes closes out in 11th place, and then Old Smoky in 12th with Giacomo Stoltz retired along with Green Gaming, it seems, from that one. So that is the final race in Season 2's Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. It's been an absolute pleasure to host these races for you each and every week throughout Season 2, but be sure if you want to catch up with any of them, whether or not it's the highlights or all of our live streams, then you'll be able to find them all within our YouTube channel playlists. Other than that, we will see you once again live on Sunday night with both myself and the console for the GT3 race around Watkins Glen. Remember, you can catch that live 8 o'clock UK time PM. Please adjust it for your relevant time zones, and as well keep your eye out on social media to see what's going on in terms of the GT1 Championship running and also the LMP2 Championships as well. But congratulations for 8 wins out of 8 races for the console. He was crowned the champion, but I think now it's pretty much unanimous throughout the championship. I've been your host, I've been Murphy GBR, and I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. But up until then, take care of yourself and enjoy your week ahead. Thank you.